is only one perfect solution, but there are clues that will try to trick our team.
Hello there, everyone. My name is Crazy Caleb, and welcome to Not Probing. Now, I might be thinking, wait a minute, this looks like normal probing. It actually does a really good job at actually not giving away if it's a not module or not. But one of the key ways that you can, and the way that you can start interacting with the module is when we start clipping the stuff together. As you can see, instead of megahertz, instead of two numbers, for example, being like a 10, 22 megahertz or something like that, I believe is what the thing for normal probing is. In this case, we start to see different words appear. And this is going to be the key difference between probing and not probing. And also, if you happen to recognize some of these words, all of these words are from the module Word Scramble. We have Archer, we have Ottawa, we've got robots, we've got Kevlar, we've got Semtex, everyone's favorite, and we've got stuff like casing and damage. All of these are words from Word Scramble, and these will be used in the module. And another little key difference is, I believe this is correct. The blue clip is actually the first one that appears when you happen to click one of the items, one of the wires in this case. The blue clip appears first instead of the red clip. I think that's the only other key difference, but for the most part, yeah, you will obviously be able to tell. In this case, this one is not probing. Now, the difference between probing and not probing is not too hard to do. There is obviously a lot of key differences with how the solving process works between probing and not probing. This one is definitely a little bit of a longer process, I will say, but it is a little bit more fun in my opinion, and I think it's one of the best, one of the better not modded modules released in my opinion. So we're going to be doing what we normally do with probing, where we're going to get a specific read by connecting specific wires. However, the clips have a little bit of a different function with each of them, and obviously, as you can see, we have a bunch of scrambled words that are going to be appearing on the top of the text here. And what we need to do is we need to figure out what the word of each of these wires are, and what the swap rule of these guys are going to be. And the word is going to be represented by the blue clip. So if we happen to say connect for the first position, we're going to be getting the word that is at this position right here. And if we happen to clip the red word to something else, we're going to get a swap rule here. So in this case, if we take a look here, we obviously have the word of flames in the first position, but what's our swap rule here? Our swap rule appears to be a 2 and a 5. It's the L and the E are swapping right now. So if we do this again, the L and the E, for example, keep swapping, and just like that, that means that positions 2 and 5 are swapping. It's only going to be two positions that are going to be swapping each time, and there will never be two of the exact same position swapping on a single wire. There's obviously, for example, like a 1-3 and a 1-2. You can obviously have cases like that pop up where there's where one occurs more than once, but in this case, you're never going to get something like a 1-1 where nothing is happening essentially. There is going to be some form of swapping, and what we're essentially going to do is we're going to figure out two positions of which the blue clip and the red clip are going to be going into. So normally, what you generally want to do is you want to figure out what the swaps are. In most cases, the words really don't matter all that much until you get to the second step of it. But in the most part, you really don't need to write down the words, as a lot of them really won't be that relevant. It's only going to be focusing on two words that we're going to be getting here. So what we need to do is we need to first off, let's get our swap rules. Our swap rules are essentially going to be how we're going to solve this module. It's the most important part of this, so let's take a look. So for example, let's hook our blue clip up to the fourth wire here, the gray one. And another thing that's very important to note that is a huge key difference between how not probing and probing works is normally with probing, what you would have here is you would have to essentially hook everything up, and then you'd have to interact with the module again in order to essentially remove that clipping. In this case, though, however, what you can actually do is if you happen to clip one of the wires to one of the clips here, in this case blue, you actually have the ability to remove it. That is one of the little key little functions here that I like to use and is quite helpful, honestly, especially with working with this module. It's much more efficient with how it works, and it just makes the module a little bit less a a nuisance. But in this case, it's not too bad. Just a little key concept that you can use. In this case, if you wanted to simply just remove both of them together, you can simply select the one of the clips that you've selected, and then it will remove both of them. Or obviously you can move on to the next one. In this case, that'll select blue, and vice versa. So that's just a little bit of a way how the module works, the actual module side. No real problem here. So with the blue clip, let's figure out first off, we need to figure out our swap rules, as I just mentioned. So let's take a look. So we have keypad in this case. Keypad is going to be here. Let's see what is swapping here. It appears to be the K and the D. That's what it has. That's what is swapping right here. So that is going to be positions 4 and 6 are going to be swapping here. So 4, 6 for this first one. Then let's do the first position for the rest of these. So we have we agreed it was a 2, 5 in this position. That's right, 2, 5. Then next up we have it appears to be the L and the E again. Interesting. Yeah. Huh. Okay, that's another 2, 5. There is also the possibility of there being duplicates of the exact same sort of swap in this case. There is that possibility of that happening. Do not worry if it happens. What's essentially going to happen here is this will be relevant to the blue clip, and I'll show you exactly what I mean by that. So let's take a look. So we have for this next one, this one appears to be a 4 and a 5. The mic and the 4 and the 5, the mic and the echo are swapping right now. Yep, so that's going to be 4, 5. Then let's take a look here. Then we have that appears to be the L and the A swapping right now, because that's going to be a 2, 3, 2, 3 swap. Okay, and then finally, we have a, I believe it's F and E. No, it's not F and E. It's going to be F and S swapping, yes. So that's going to be a 1, 6. So that means that this is all of our rotations, or all of our swaps, rather. And now what we're going to do is, the first things first, for this step, with these swap rules, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the blue clip rule. And what we need to do is we need to figure out how to actually submit this module. The way that you would submit on probing is the exact same way that you're going to be submitting on not probing. You're going to leave 2 clips. Attached at specific positions for more than 6 seconds, and that will submit the answer. But there is a little bit of a catch to what we need to do that. But the first things first, we need to determine what the actual position for this is. And we need to determine the swap rules for each of the 6 wires, which we just did, and we're going to use the numbers in the below table to obtain 6 wires. So let's go down here. And what we're going to do is we're going to try and find an intersection where both of these numbers essentially apply. The order of which you get them does not matter, just as long as it points to a specific wire. So in this case, 4, 6 would be column 4, row 6, which is going to be pointing to this green one. This is where the 2, 5 comes into place here. So, as we just saw, we happen to have two of the exact same swaps. This is important because what's going to happen here is, as we can see, we have 6 different wire colors on the module, which are represented by the graph here of the exact same colors. This means what's going to happen here is that there's going to be one missing wire color. There's going to be one wire color that is going to be missing, and there's going to be one wire color that's going to be duplicated. And that's actually going to be extremely relevant to the rules. Because if we take a look here, there is the 2 rules of the blue chip must be attached to the wire which appears twice, or the blue chip must be attached to the wire which doesn't appear at all. So that is where this rule is going to come into play here. That is why there is going to be the possibility of 2 of the exact same swap rules appearing. So in this case, 2, 5 is going to be our double. The gray is going to be our double here. So let's highlight the rest of these. Let's see what we have here. So we have 4, 5. Then we have 2, 3. 2, 3 right there. And then a 1, 6. Okay. And the one that doesn't appear is going to be this white-red, so this first one, this first position here. And that's going to be what we're going to be doing here. So now, let's take a look at the rules. If the first and last digit of the serial number are both even or both odd, in this case they share a parity, the blue clip must be attached to the wire which appears twice. In this case, funny number is even and odd. They do not share a parity. So in this case, this means that the blue clip is instead not going to be attached to the wire which appears twice. It's going to be attached to the wire which doesn't appear. So let's take a look down here, and let's see here. So we have the yellow-black, we have the gray, we have the red and yellow, or the orange and yellow, whichever you prefer to call it, and we have the blue and the red. So in this case, our remaining one that we don't have highlighted is going to be this guy right here. So blue is going to be connected to number 1, and that's going to be part of our submission figured out. So now let's figure out red, and red's going to be used with this word list down below here. So this is kind of where getting the words might be a little bit helpful, but in this case, I kind of like to just check and see what all of the words are that we have, so we can just start highlighting everything here. So we have, for example, blasts, keypad, so blasts, keypad, and then we have a diffuse, We have flames. That was the setup. Okay. Flames, diffuse, and then this one over here is wiring. I believe there was a letter. Yeah, letter. Wiring and letter. Okay, so we've gotten all 6 of our words here. Now what do we do with this information? So, we're going to start at the top left corner of the word list and move forward in reading order a number of spaces equal to the sum of the serial number of digits. The table loops around from start to end. So let's take a look. So we had funny number, which in this case, 6 plus 9 is going to give us 15. And if we take a look at the table, starting from Archer, we're going to count 15 spaces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And we end up on Kevlar. Now, Kevlar, we actually didn't have that word present at all. What happens if we don't have that word? If the word of this position appears on the module, it did not, and its wire is not already connected to the blue clip, attach the red clip to the wire with the attained word. That would happen if we happen to land exactly on a word that is not used. And in this case, blue is going to be connected to flames in this instance. So we know that for a fact that that's going to be connected to flames. We don't know exactly what's going to happen with flames. However, we would not be able to choose that option if, for example, it happened to go, like, for example, device. If it happened to land on device at all, that would be not an option. Now, in this instance, we don't land on a word that is present on the module. Otherwise, we're going to be progressing in reading order until a present word is reached. So in this case, our first option that we get to is going to be keypad. Keypad we had, for example, I believe is number 4. Yes. So red is now going to be connected for number 4 for the submission part of this module. Now, this is going to be the solving process of this module. To solve this module, we're going to perform swaps so that the word belonging to the 2 wires which need to be clipped are unscrambled. And we're going to attach the clips to their corresponding wires and leave them there for 6 seconds. So this is the part that makes this module a little bit unique. We figured out our clips that we're going to be, we figured out the positions of the clips that's going to be for the submission part of this module. Now, what we need to do is we need to use the swap rules that we had, and we need to unscramble our words. That's where this thing gets a little bit interesting. Now, generally what I tend to do actually is I tend to focus on red first because of the fact that we know that blue is going to be the word that blue is going to be the last word that we focus on. So I'm going to focus on number 4, for example. Just because of the fact that, for example, what we would normally do at the end, for example, is if we set up blue correctly, all we simply need to do is we need to simply connect blue to 1, red to 4, and then all we simply need to do is we can just swap the position again. So that's going to be the way that this works. Now for this one, let's see what we need to take a look at here. So we have currently keypad, and it's all over the place. And I'm going to write this down what it's currently at right now. So it's a pay cat, I believe what it was. So now let's take a look and let's see what swap rules we can do here. So we need to get the K over to the first position, and it's actually really close, to be quite honest. It's actually shockingly close how not so far away it is from this. So, for example, what we could do is we could potentially get a 4 to 6 to get the K over to the 6th position, and then a 1 to 6. That's the only possible option for the K to get in the correct position. And then, if we happen to work things out, if we happen to see ahead already, we know for a fact that 1 and 6 are going to swap. The K and the P are going to swap. Then all we simply need to do is we need to simply do 4 and 6 again, putting the P in the correct position and putting the D back in the 6th position. So let's do that. So let's do, for example, let's do the 4th representing our word, and the red is going to represent our swap rule. So this is going to be a 1, 6. And, excuse me, this is not going to be 1, 6. Let's do not 1, 6 first. We'll do a 4, 6. Getting the K and the D swapped, so that's what we just did right there. So P and K. Then we're going to do 1, 6. So that's going to be a key. So it's going to be a P and a K swap, just what we had right there. And now all we simply need to do is we simply need to do 4 and 6 again, swapping the D and the P. And in this case, that sets our word up perfectly. Now we've already set up red. Red was essentially a swap rule, and this is all we really need to worry about right here. So that's perfect. So all we simply need to focus on is we need to focus on just the blue key, which we actually had set up really close perfectly beforehand. So now it is currently flames, and in this case we actually happen to have that one set up perfectly. If you happen to essentially have a case like this, let's give it 6 seconds, and just like that is the solve module. In this case, if you happen to have a word perfectly spelled out. However, it is going to be part of your submission. Essentially, what you want to do is you want to get in the correct position, but make sure that the word is spelled correctly by just doing it again. It's a way of just essentially swapping it and then swapping it again, just to cancel out the swaps. And that's going to be the way that that works. Just make sure that it's spelled correctly, and that's going to be the way that this works. Let's go over one more example. Hopefully, we can get one that I'm able to explain how the swaps work for the other one. But essentially, it's the exact same concept. Um, but yeah, just focus on red first because red is specifically focusing on swaps, and blue is going to be specifically focusing on the word. You want the blue clip to be focusing on you want to focus on the word that is going to be the blue clip, which is going to be part of the submission, as the last one you want to swap in this case. That's kind of what I'm trying to get at. Let's take a look at one final example, and let's see if we can get through this thing. So, our final example here.
There is only one perfect solution, but there are clues
Okay.
that will try to trick our team.
So, hold on. This first one here. It appears to be swapping 1 and 6 with this first position, the C and the E. Yeah, okay, so that's going to be 1, 6 for this first one. Then we have, the N and the S appear to be swapping, so that's going to be positions 2 and 4. Then we have, for this one, it appears to be not the C and the N, it's the C and the A. That's going to be a 1, 3. Okay, then next up we have, appears to be C and S. Yeah, C and S, that's going to be a 1, 4. Okay, then we have, what do we have next? It appears to be the I and the S. The I and the S, that's going to be a 1, 5. Lovely. And then we finally have, it appears to be the I and the N. Yeah, those are the I and N swapping. So that's going to be a 1, 2. Okay. Okay, so now let's take a look at our wires here. This is pretty much going to be this entire column right here. So that's going to be 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, and 1, 6. That's rather quite convenient. And then we have a 2, 4. So now our duplicate is going to be the lime one here, and our one that we're missing is going to be the gray. Okay, so let's take a look. So our first and last digit of the serial number, they are both even in this case. They are indeed both even, so this means that this is going to be, the blue clip is going to be attached to the wire which appears twice. So the one that appears twice in this diagram here is going to be the lime. So the lime is going to be the one that appears twice. That means blue is going to end up on the third wire. And for red, let's take a look. First things first, let's figure out what our words are. We had casing, I remember that, because that's the one we were looking at. Then we have napalm. Then we have blasts. So we've got napalm, then we have blasts, then we have device, wiring, and robots. Device, wiring, and robots. Okay, quite spread out, but that's not too bad. So we have in this case an 8 and a 6. 8 and 6 is going to be adding the stuff up. So it's going to be 8 plus 6 is going to be a 14. We're going to count 14 spaces starting from Archer. This is going to be represented by 0, by the way. It's important to note down. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We land on Kaboom. This is not one that this is not one that's on the module. So in this case, we're going to go forward in reading order to the next one that we have available to us. That's going to be napalm. Now, napalm, let's make sure it's not on the third wire. It's not. That's good. So that's going to be in the second position. So that means red is going to be connected to 2. Okay, and that's going to be what we're going to do. Now, let's begin the swapping process of this module here. Let's start with number 2, and let's get napalm sorted out here. So it's amp. That's what it's looking like right now. This is looking very close. No, it's not. Let's try and figure out what we can do here, because there's going to be a lot of 1s that we're going to have to worry about swapping here. We can probably start off with swapping 2 and 4, for example. Or maybe it's better, no, hold on. It's maybe better to keep that A in the same position. We swap 1 and 2, getting the L and the A, getting the A in the correct position, and also lining up the possibility of us moving the L and the N into the correct position. Okay, we can do this. So let's take a look at this. So we do, for example, we connect blue to 2 as our word, and then our swap rule. Let's take a look. Let's do, for example, a 1 and 2. Let's do 1 and 2. And then let's do, because we just did 1 and 2, so let's do L and A swapping. Then let's do 1 and 5, because that is going to get the N and the L in the correct position, so let's do that. So N and L is going to be 1, 5. So far, it's going really well. So 1, 5 just swap, so N and L. Now we need to get that P over in the correct position. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to do, we need to get that 3 there. We need to get 3 over to 6, and we need to get 6 over to 3. So it's gonna have to, we're gonna have to swap the 1 again in some way, shape, or form. So let's do 1, 6. Okay, that's gonna be N and then P. All right. Then what we can do now is we can do a 1, 3. So let's do 1, 3. So 2 in there, and that's gonna be a map. E and M, and at this point, all we simply need to do is we simply need to do a 1, 6 again, and just like that, our word has been spelled correctly. There we go. Perfect. Now for our second word. So let's take a look at this one. This is going to be a blast, and already it's actually pretty set up for us. It's B-L-A-S-S-T. That's actually very close. What we can do here is we need to think of about this a little bit carefully here. We need to essentially switch this S and this T, which means that we can probably just do a 1, 5 and a 1, 6 sort of deal. So let's do that. So first off, let's do 1, 6, getting the B and the T swapping here. So let's get the B and the T. Then let's swap the 1, 5, which is going to be the T and the S. Okay. So it's going to be a T and S, as you can see. And then finally, what we're going to do is we're going to swap 1, 6 again. So 1 and then 6. And now we have our last position set up for us. Now, this is exactly what I mean here. If we happen to set up blue 3 and red 2, for example, what's going to happen here is it's still going to perform that swap. All we simply need to do is we simply need to do it again. And just like that is good to go. Give it 6 seconds. And just like that is a solved module. A very nifty concept with a bunch of classical modules that you that you're normally used to. So, as always, thank you guys for watching. Remember to stay crazy, stay cool, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.